Hi there, and welcome to my second episode of the podcast. Today, I want to talk about how I ended up in Sweden and what it means to move to another country, to immigrate. Um, the pros and cons between the two countries I know to live in. And so, when people ask me, I still get that question how I ended up in Sweden and where I come from, of course, because they can still hear it slightly in my accent. And then it's also a mixture from the first place I lived. So, yeah, they're confused. People are confused. And so I still get this question how I ended up here. I'm out in nature now. I brought pumpkin soup that I made yesterday in a thermos. And I'm sitting on my sheep skin on a bench with the sun on my eyes. And on my left, I have the waters, the beautiful waters. It's the sea, actually. The East Sea, I guess it's called. And um, in front of me, I have nature, and behind me, I have trees, and there is a little forest here. So if you hear the birds in the background, or the planes flying over, or people in the background, then it's because of that. So, how did I end up here? Short story? I will do the short story. I had a best friend back in Belgium for 12 years ago, well, longer than 12 years ago. My best friend from Belgium at the time, we were friends for like 6 years, very close. She and her partner decided to buy a whole camping site in the middle of Sweden, really in the middle of the country. Sweden is a very long country. It's very big. It's the third biggest of Europe. People often don't know that. It's a big country. If I was gonna drive from the south to the north, it would take me let's say like 30 hours maybe. Also because if you cannot drive 120 kilometers an hour the whole way. Yeah, so it's big. And they bought a camping site in the middle of Sweden. And in June, 12 years ago, so that would be 2013. And then in October 2013, I visited Sweden for the first time to visit my friend. And I fell in love. I fell in love with I don't know. I cannot explain it better than that I just fell in love. I was here for maybe 6 days or something like that. Maybe 5, 6 days. First time. At this beautiful, beautiful lake. They have the camping site. It's so pretty there. Even though it's on the side of the big road, European road, it's so beautiful there. And I fell in love with the country. And I didn't know so much about the country even. I, I could speak a little Swedish. Was it back then? Or I had just started my Swedish course in Belgium, like in the evening, one time a week on Wednesdays. I remember. But yeah, I had my Swedish course. And yeah, I just fell in love completely. And at the camping site, she had a Swedish man, a carpenter, helping them to renovate. And we became when we saw each other the first time. He was a much older man than me. He's still alive. 22 years older than me, almost 22 years older than me. No, 22 and, and a few months even, yeah. And when we saw each other the first time at this cabin where they lived on a camping site, we still talk about that sometimes. We knew that we were gonna have a significant role in each other's lives. And so we became friends first, and then we became lovers a while, and we realized that we were not meant to be lovers, and but we kept being friends. And if I'm completely honest, there was also, of course, opportunity in that, um, to have the opportunity to come to Sweden and live here for free, but to visit them and come whenever, that was like a big, that's a big present. Like, I mean, that's a gift. And I took that gift. And he helped me tremendously, and I helped him also tremendously. We're good friends. We realized that we were not meant to be lovers, and so yeah, we became friends and kept our contact with each other, in contact with each other. He's the only Swedish person that has met my whole family, because he also was in Belgium, and yeah, met all my family members. And so in a way, he's the only connection between Belgium and Sweden, or my life in Belgium and my life in Sweden. Yeah, and I really like that, because sometimes I like to talk about my life in Belgium, and other people that I know here cannot relate to that, of course. They don't know anybody there. So yeah, that's how I came in contact with Sweden, and I fell in love with the country, and then this man also, and the friendship of us. And so in 2019, my job was ending. Like I was doing a replacement in a daycare, and the person I was replacing was gonna come back. And so on the 10th of April 2019 was my last day at the daycare, and the day after, I booked a flight ticket to Sweden to visit my friend and my dog, who moved to Sweden a few years prior to that. 2 years prior to that, she moved to go and live with him, my friend. And so I was going to visit them. 3 weeks I was going to be here, and I was going to look for a new job while I was here, and then I was going to travel back to Belgium. But then after 2 weeks, they announced an air company strike. So I wasn't able to fly back at the date that I supposed to fly back. It was somewhere in May. And so I could rebook my ticket for free. I never buy these tickets rebookable because I still don't. I didn't have the money for that. So I booked the tickets, the cheapest ones. But but now I could book it for free because it was their fault. And so good air company also. I really like to fly with SAS. It's the best. They're the best to fly with of the companies that I flew with. And so I and then I had this conversation with my friend, like, is it possible? Can I stay a little longer here? Are you okay with that? And let's see if I'm still recording. I am. And it was of course it was okay. And so we were friends at the time because we were together, like, it was for 1.5 years maybe, and that was like 12 years ago almost, I guess. Well, I don't remember exactly, but something like that. And so we knew each other already a few years. I mean, what do I want to say? I'm dreaming. I was looking at the water. So yeah, I was visiting him, but then the strike was announced, and then I was like, we had a talk, like, would it be possible if I stayed here? Because my grown-up son had moved to my mother's place. He was 21 at the moment, or almost 21, almost 21, and I didn't have a partner, like a love partner, and I didn't have a job, so maybe I could find a job here in Sweden in the place where he lived. And we were like, yeah, yeah, sure, why not? You can stay a few months, like 4 months maybe. And so I rebooked the ticket to somewhere in July because it's my son's birthday then, and I had festival tickets for Tomorrowland, which is it's a huge thing, and they cost a lot also. Why did I do that? Well, yeah, I did that. And so I decided to stay and start to work in Sweden. Because if you're like a European citizen, you can do that. And so I went to the city hall and I ended up in the care sector with for an elderly home. And so and then by the time when it was July, I realized how much I liked it here. And so, and I also had a contract for the whole summer. And so instead of flying back to Belgium and staying there in July, I booked a ticket back, a one-way ticket back to Sweden after I was there. And I filled my suitcase with a few of the items that I wanted to have with me here in Sweden. And so that was the first, like, books and papers and like items, my crystals maybe, I don't know, I don't remember. And oh, wait, that was not so kind what he said. He said, shut up, Kid said, shut up. Shut your mouth. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it, but yeah, it's funny. So I was here and I started working. And then from one thing came the other. I was still here. And then September 2019, I drove to Belgium and got some more stuff. My son was living in my apartment at the time, and I was paying half of the rent, and my mom was paying half of the rent. um, so that was good financially. That was very good for me, of course, because I was paying in two places, of course. Well, I didn't need to pay in the beginning and here in Sweden because the rent was very low, and yeah, it just my friend didn't allow me in. And so and then I visited again the end of January 2020, and then COVID had already started in China. In December 2019 it started in China. And January 2020 I flew to visit my son. I flew back to Belgium to visit my son, and but also like we had a talk then about, like I said to him, like it feels like I want to stay in Sweden. It feels like I feel more at home in Sweden, and so I'm at work there, and it feels so much more logic to that I would stay there for a while. I don't know how long. And he said like, yeah, of course, mom, that's I figured, and it I I I understand also because he had been in Sweden. He's been in Sweden 2 times. So he understands how life is here. He understood that it fits, like it fitted so much better with who I am. So yeah, of course I understand, and I said like I'm not like, so in a few months from now I'm gonna come back, and then I need to say up the apartment. You cannot stay in this apartment because I didn't want to have it in my name. I want to move officially to Sweden, so my main address needed to be in Sweden, and so I wanted to say up my rents and in Belgium, my address in Belgium. And it was a special kind of lease I had, so I couldn't just let him live there instead of me. It wasn't possible. It was like with this listing thing and whatever. And so then I flew back, and when I flew to Sweden, when I flew to Belgium, somebody coughed me right in my face at the airport. Actually, when I was taking my hand luggage from the, when you go through this security thing. Really, like she was so rude. It was very strange. Just coughed me right in my face. And when I was in Belgium, I got really sick, really, really sick, like with coughing and my asthma, and but because I was gonna visit a friend who just got a baby, and I couldn't do that. I couldn't visit the baby and the friend, and I was bummed by that. And it was also like I was in Belgium being sick, so it wasn't so nice. Like in the end of my stay. So I flew back to Sweden, and then COVID came, because I really believed that I had this thing going on. Well, I got sick, very sick. And well, that's another thing, because I really believe that it's a pandemic. They have planned this, and it's all part of the bigger control system that's going on in the background in our society. Most people are not aware of that, but if you know about it and read about it and watch videos about it, there is so much information about that out there. So anyway, that's a side story. Well, I'm maybe gonna record something about that as well. Anyway, So, yeah, I was flying back to Sweden and was thinking that I could like fly back maybe June, and then, or that I was going to be able to say up the lease. And it's 3 months in Belgium. You need to say it up. Like, you have 3 months to move out. But because of COVID happened then and the lockdown in Belgium, I was like, I'm not going to travel there now. I couldn't come into the country even. Like, they had a lockdown. We didn't have a lockdown here in Sweden. And so it felt really good to still have this freedom feeling going on here in Sweden. And people died, like they died everywhere in the world, because not because of COVID, but because they were already sick. And this was a drop that let the bucket, yeah, like the last drop. And it was a horrible time. It absolutely was. And many people lost a lot of loved ones. And but yeah, I was like, I'm not going to travel there because I have my job here in Sweden, and I cannot just, if I travel there now and then maybe they're going to keep me there. And so I waited to officially move. It was after the summer of 2020 that they, somewhere in August, I guess, that they opened up the borders again. They closed it afterwards again, but yeah, I had this gap, and I also had holidays, summer holidays at my work. And so what happened was, which is kind of funny, is that, coincidence or not, I was now 37 years old, which is my favorite number for people who don't know it. That's why this is called 37 podcast. I was 37 years old, and because of the holiday system here in Sweden, I traveled to Belgium in week 34, and I had 3 weeks of holidays to fix everything, to move all the stuff, you know, repaint, clean, clean out the apartment. I stayed at my friend's place, and at work, in week 37, here in Sweden they think in weeks. Week 37, when I was 37 years old, I had my van packed with all the stuff that I was going to bring into Sweden. It was, we were such good packers, my friend and me, really. Like, the van was, I have a Citroen Jumpy, which is a little bigger van, but not a very big one. We packed it so like a puzzle, like everything fitted in. We were such a good team. Thank you for that, my friend. And I drove by myself all the way back into my new life. September 2020. And that means that I was already living over 1 year in Sweden when I did the big move. Like 1.5 years, I was already staying in Sweden and working and living before I set up everything. Set up, that's not how, that's a translation, that's not how you say it in English. Well, when I did the move, I mean. So, that's how I ended up here. And then the most difficult thing in the beginning was, on the way, my son had decided he didn't want to have contact with me anymore. I was not on good terms with my mother, so even as well, because she was involved in that as well, in that situation as well. And yeah, I moved all by myself into a new country to start a new life, and that's brave. That's like freaking brave. It's not easy. That was a very difficult thing. And my friends as well, like my friends, was already living in Sweden for 1.5 years, but then to decide really like I'm leaving Belgium behind and I'm gonna live officially in Sweden. My only address is gonna be there. It was a big thing. I missed them very much in the beginning. And also to maintain that friendship, it's so difficult with the distance. And it's not only the distance, but it's also the distance in mentality. The mentality in Sweden is so different. Life here is so different from the life in Belgium. Also, totally not, because I still need to go to work. I still have this society. We have grocery shop. Like, it's the same. Like, daily life is kind of the same, but also totally not. Yeah, it's a big thing to move to another country, to a new country. And even like this is Europe. I am still in Europe. But Scandinavia, like if I would move to Germany maybe, but then still in Germany you have many places in nature also. Belgium is a very interesting country to live in because it is so tiny, and because it is so tiny and it's we have this division between the Flemish part and the Wallonian part, the French speaking part and the Flemish speaking part, and it's like it's a peanut if you compare it to Sweden. It's like nothing. You drive from one side of the country to the other side of the country. If you cross it, like it's 3 hours with the car, max, from one side to the other side. Maybe a little longer because they have a lot of cars, and so you have all these traffic jams everywhere. It's crazy to have a traffic jam. That's something like, well, sometimes at the round, I don't know, I always say this word wrong, roundabout, sometimes, but otherwise traffic jam, I in the big cities it's there, of course, but you have like 3 big cities and that's it. There you have traffic jam, and the rest of Sweden is without traffic jam. It's crazy. Sweden is 15 times bigger than Belgium, and we have less people living here, like 1 million less. So, and the mentality of the Belgian people, like everything needs to go fast because of that. It's this tiny country, and it's just one big highway. The whole country is a big highway, and so everything needs to go fast, and people are so stressed by that. I realized that. Why are they so stressed? And I came up with that highway story. And they are like very unkind in traffic. Very. They are horrific. They drive also stressy. Last year I visited and I was like, it was a lot. Yeah, the mentality is so different between Central Europe and Scandinavia. It's difficult to explain, but I guess it's because of nature, and maybe they're closer up to the north. I truly believe that the veils are thinner here, and so it's easier to access this other world, the not touchable world, the spiritual world. even though I don't. There are spiritual people here, of course, but it's not so common to that. It's not that all Swedish people talk about that. But it's like it feels, I don't know, like they hold on to their traditions so much. The Sancta Lucia, for example, celebration, the Midsummer celebration, all these celebrations that they do that are from the Nordic mythology ages, and they're still here. They're still integrated in how people live. Yeah, I really like that part. And the air is, I noticed already for the first time when I came to Sweden, like even at the airport in Sweden, the air is healthier than the air is in a normal place in Belgium. You know, I had asthma in Belgium, like severe asthma. By times when I was sick, I was like ended up at the emergency room to get this um, aerosol. I don't know how you say that, to open up my lungs again. I didn't have I don't have asthma here in Sweden. I don't. I've never had asthma here in Sweden. I maybe was sick in my lungs sometimes, but not. It's not comparable. Produce are healthier. You can feel it's more connected to nature, like the original. Like it's even stupid to say I'm gonna buy organic vegetables. 50 years ago, all vegetables were organic, all of them, and now they need a new name for it. They should say like unorganic food. They should sell all unorganic food as unorganic for it. But yeah, that's another story. Hey hey. So yeah, but the thing that I miss from Belgium is the kind of foods, like some of the dishes that they make there. But of course, I make them with Swedish produce. Um, but they don't know it. So for them, it's not. They don't have the habit to make witlof and hesperolkes, for example. I'm not gonna explain that even. Or fries from the frituur. They don't know how it tastes because it's a different. It's typical. It's Belgian. The chocolate, the beer. I'm not a beer drinker, but anyway. Um, yeah, Belgium. They have a lot of access to vegetables. Like for example, green beans. You can buy them one by one in Belgium. Here in Sweden, you have these little packages. Well, I have a farm where I can pick them myself, but I mean, I go and buy them at a farm where I pick them myself. That's good, of course. Yeah, but food wise, there are some things that I miss. And yeah, well, I mentioned family and friends, and I have access to the social life also. Like to go into the city and have this, I can have that if I move to a city, but I don't want to live in a city. And so I don't have that. And I also don't have the friends here. So yeah, because you know, one of the things that that they say about Swedish people is that they are cold or distant. But I've, by living here, well, cold maybe not, but well, some of the people it goes around. They say that, but maybe distance or reserved. And I don't see it as that. I think the Belgian people are reserved, much more so, and they are much colder than the Swedish mentality is. It's kind of like naive is not the word, but they're so kind in their hearts, genuine. They are so genuine. And there is a word that I came up. What was the word again to describe the Swedish people? Hmm. Wait, I'm gonna pause. The Swedish people are discreet. That is the word. You know, they make fun of them. Like on Instagram, you can see this. They talk about like at a bus station, for example. Everybody's like standing 1 meter from each other and doing their own thing and not really having this small talk thing. It's not true. Like everybody's just discreet. You don't want to disturb somebody else. You are in your own, yeah, being content with yourself, like relaxed. But if you start a conversation with a Swedish person at a train station, they will talk, and you can have the nicest talk with these people. Kind, loving, warm-hearted talks. And so the word for the Swedish people to describe them is discreet. And I like that. Even though you can be expressive and you can do whatever you want also. Yeah, that's a good thing to round us up with. Discreet, discreet. I like that. I like that a lot. So, oh, look at that bird. That's a woodpecker. You hear it? Beautiful. I see it. Anyway, thank you for listening. And it's 37 minutes and it was 37 seconds. And so, yeah, I hope you are with me the next time as well. Much love for me.